How many full-on arguments have you had that never actually happened? You know the ones where nothing was actually said, but you still managed to get upset, hurt, and irritated anyway? Maybe your kid hasn't called you, or your spouse said something and you're pretty sure you knew exactly what they meant. Or you got some weird, vague email from your boss, or your friend never responded to your text message. And suddenly your brain is off and running. You have filled in all the blanks. You have assumed the worst. You've had the whole conversation in your head, and by the end of the day, you are exhausted. If that sounds familiar, this episode is for you. Hey friend, welcome to the show. So this week has been an interesting one for us because last week we did our episode where I had my son Dylan on the podcast. If you did not catch that, go back and check it out. We talked all about preparing for college, the feelings, the expectations, all that kind of stuff. It really got conversations going in my house. So over the next several days, there have been all kinds of things that have come up for both of us that we never would have addressed had we not recorded that episode. So I just encourage you, if you have a kid who is about to go off to college, or maybe they've already gone to college, this could be a great episode for you to listen to and maybe even listen with them or share it with them, because a lot of the things that we talked about really opened up more conversation for days to follow. So I'm hoping that it does the same for you. But today, we're actually talking about a book that has been around for a long time. It's called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And I'm just assuming that you have not read the book, but if you have, you'll still get something out of this episode. So if you are listening to this podcast, you're probably like a lot of the women that I work with. You're not new to personal growth. You've probably done some personal growth work. You are more aware of yourself and you see patterns that you didn't notice in yourself when you were younger. At the same time, you're pretty tired of unnecessary emotional drama, especially when it's not even real drama and it's like conjured up in your own head. And that is one of the big things that this book addresses. So we're going to take a look at what the 4 agreements are, and then I'm going to explain how we can look at it through our midlife lens and apply it to our lives now. At its core, the 4 agreements is about 4 simple principles to live by. And when I say simple here, I don't mean easy. I just mean very clear. And the basic idea is that a lot of the stress and frustration and emotional suffering that we experience comes from habits that we don't even realize we are practicing. So these 4 agreements are meant to interrupt those patterns. All right, so what are the 4 agreements? Well, number 1 is be impeccable with your word. Number 2 is don't take anything personally. Number 3 is don't make assumptions. And number 4 is always do your best. So today, I want to dive into each of these agreements and kind of look at them from our midlife woman lens. And I think it's really going to help you see exactly why so many of us feel drained, resentful, and stuck in our own heads. So let's walk through each one of them. I'm actually going to address these out of order because I think the most important one and the one that I see that causes the most suffering in all of us is don't make assumptions. And look, it is human nature to do this. But if we can be aware of it, we can start to shift away from it. So let's say maybe your child doesn't call you. They're off at school and they don't call you. Or something happens and our spouse doesn't react the way that we think they were going to. Or maybe you're thinking about asking for a raise at work. Or maybe it's just getting a text or an email that's a little vague. So what do we usually do when these things happen? Well, I can tell you what we don't do. We don't assume the best, right? We fill in the blanks with the worst case scenario. They must be mad at me. I've done something wrong, right? Or they don't care about me, or they're being selfish, or this just isn't going to work, right? There's so many thoughts that come in. And then we carry that around all day. And not only carry it, we interact with it. We have full-on conversations, sometimes full-blown arguments in our head, imaginary conversations and arguments that never actually happened. But here's the thing, your body does not realize that this is fake, and that mental spiral takes up a lot of energy. And listen, at this stage of our lives, we've already got a lot of stuff going on, right? We've got our hormone fluctuations we're trying to deal with and figure out. We may not be getting enough sleep. And frankly, we just have less tolerance for bullshit. We just don't really have the capacity that we used to have for this kind of emotional labor. So ideally, we're not going to make assumptions at all. The best thing you can do in these situations is reach out to ask questions, to get clarity on what's actually going on. What are the facts from the other side? Don't just fill in the blanks. Go find out what the blanks mean. What are they saying? What do they mean? How are they feeling? What were they thinking? So many of these situations could be cleared up if we just paused and said, hey, can you explain what you meant by that? Or I feel like I'm missing some information. Or, you know what? At the very least, if you're going to make assumptions, start practicing making assumptions for the best case scenario instead of the worst. I assure you that is going to feel so much better than assuming there's some hidden meaning or some passive aggressive message being sent here or some personal attack. And by the way, if you believe in the law of attraction at all, constantly rehearsing worst case scenarios is not helping you manifest anything good. So cut that out. All right, let's move on to don't take anything personally. This really means understanding that anything people say or do, whether it's good or bad, is not about you. It is about them. Always. I mean, just think about your own life for a second. Most of what you say, think, do, feel, it's about you, right? And that's not because we're selfish. It's just human nature. It's how we are. And you've probably heard how, like on Zoom calls, most people spend the majority of the meeting looking at themselves instead of everybody else. And that just helps to prove this concept. And also just keeping in mind that not everyone has done as much of this kind of work on themselves. Not everyone is as self-aware. Not everyone has climbed the same mountain that you have. And it isn't fair to expect someone to meet you on the mountain that they haven't even hiked up yet, right? People meet you where they are. And everything they're doing and saying is about them. It's them seeing the world through their lens, with their lived experiences and with their baggage. So just embrace that. It's not about you. It's about them. Nothing is personal, good or bad. All right, let's move on to the next one. Be impeccable with your word. So this one means a few different things. It means that you should always say what you mean. Yeah, hello, people pleasers. I see you out there. I'm talking to you. But not just about people pleasing, right? It's about being clear with other people so that they don't have to make assumptions about what you meant. Also, it's speaking with integrity. And it's about how you speak to yourself. Don't use your words to gossip or shame or tear anyone down. And here's a big part that gets missed. That includes what you think and say about yourself. So as far as saying what you mean, a lot of us have been conditioned, especially women, to avoid saying what we actually want. We've stayed quiet to keep the peace. We don't want to look demanding. We don't want to look high maintenance. We don't want to look like a diva. But this agreement is really permission to move past that. It is absolutely possible to be kind and firm at the same time. So say what you mean, say what it is that you want, and speak up. So many of us are unkind in the way that we speak to ourselves. We beat ourselves up when we make a mistake. We hate on our body. And Lord knows that's a big one right now in this midlife transition that we're going through, right? Midlife body changes are real. As hormones change, so does the way your body is made. And it's not just about hormones, right? We're just getting older. We're going to have wrinkles. We're going to have some sagging skin. And it can be really easy and really habitual for a lot of us to look in the mirror and tear ourselves down. But look, here is the decision that I've made, and you can make this same decision right now, right where you are. I am just not going to hate on my body anymore. Period. Now, that doesn't mean I don't notice the changes, and it doesn't mean that I'm not going to do my part to stay as healthy as possible and look as good as possible, but it does mean that I'm done beating myself up over anything that I see as negative. Because here is one thing I know, and you know this too if you think about it. You look back at your body from 20 years ago and you think, damn, that was nice, right? So future you 20 years from now is going to do the same thing. I just turned 50. When I'm 70, I'm going to look back at this body and be like, whew, that was nice. Why didn't you appreciate what you had? So now that is what I'm trying to do. Appreciating where I am now and all the wonderful things about my body now. So the next time you catch yourself in the mirror, try saying something nice. Do it out loud if you can. Look, it's going to feel real silly at first. Try it anyway. You'll be surprised at how it makes you feel. And then start a habit of doing that every day. Greet yourself with a good morning, beautiful in the mirror when you wake up. What a great way to start the day. What a great message to send to yourself. All right, let's talk about the last one. Always do your best. Sounds pretty self-explanatory at a glance, right? One of the things to note here, though, is that in the 4 agreements, he talks about how your best changes every day. And we certainly notice that at this stage of our life, right? Some days you're really energized. Some days you had a horrible night's sleep and you're exhausted. Or some days you're just extra irritated. Your perimenopause is just perimenopausing, and that's okay. And listen, I am a big fan of having huge goals and doing hard things. But I also think it's important that you don't beat yourself up on days when your best looks different. So always do your best means do your very best. Yes, with what you have to work with today, and let that be enough. As long as you're continuing to move forward, that is what really matters. So this week, I want you to just try to pick one of these 4 agreements and practice it intentionally for the next 7 days. So just a quick review. We've got don't make assumptions, don't take anything personally, be impeccable with your word, and always do your best. Pick one of those for this week to try and really try to apply it every day throughout the day and see how you feel at the end of the week. Now, I highly recommend if you haven't read this book, you should read it. I will put a link to the book in the show notes. And this is the kind of book that is so good, not just to read, but to really apply, because that's where the magic happens, right? And listen, if you enjoyed this kind of wrap up, check out my Better with Every book club. This is the whole reason I created this book club. It's for women who want to read personal growth books, but who also would like to have a little bit of coaching, reflection, discussion, and to actually apply it to your real life. If you loved this conversation, you'll love the book club. I'll link to it in the show notes. Go check it out. We're going to read one personal growth book together every month. You are going to get a special private podcast from me every week where we'll talk through the key takeaways, and I'll give you some real world examples of how you can apply it to your life. Plus, we've got a Facebook group where we can all discuss it together. So come join us. All right, y'all, that's all I've got for today. Go be fabulous. Make sure you take my free Shift Happens quiz to find out what you're really craving next in midlife. Or if you think you might be ready to dive into one-on-one coaching with me, book a free clarity call. You'll find both links right below the video.